Tell me when it goes on.
Okay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Captain Hook Podcast, Season 7, Episode 19, Flower Child. I'm Captain Hook Podcast on Tumblr, and you brought me home, and these are my friends.
Hi, I'm Pip. I am Pirate Hero Killian on Tumblr and Pirate Hero Jones on Twitter.
Hi, I'm Ro, and I am Ginny Jinx and Handshot Rita First on Tumblr.
Danielle is out and about somewhere. I'm sure she will join us momentarily. So, Flower Child. What can we say? This is the backstory episode that we were supposedly waiting for. That would explain Gothel's motivation for doing what she's done. And all of us kind of had the same opinion. We kind of looked at it and went, cool motive. Still murder. That's
Mass murder.
That's it? Really? That's all?
Yeah. If I could compare it to anything, you ever saw the Gargoyles TV show?
Of course.
Yeah. She reminds me of the female gargoyle that was played by Deanna Troi from
Demona,
Star Trek.
Yeah.
Demona, yeah. Like, the humans betrayed her, so she wants to wipe them all out, apparently. Even though it was her own fault, because she betrayed them to begin with because she wanted the castle to herself. And in this case, it was also Gothel's fault for straying in the first place from her home.
Well, let me set up the context here. What we know so far is that Gothel, in actuality, is a woodland nymph, which is where her magic comes from, directly from nature. Makes sense. Her cursed name is Eloise Gardner. Makes sense. She comes from a time many thousands of years ago, actually in the land without magic, as surprising as that might be. And she and her family of other woodland nymphs live in their own little sequestered garden world, apart from the humans, and they don't interact with the humans because in the land without magic, I'm just going to say it right now, I'm not concerned with time frames or title cards. I no longer care. Many thousands of years ago, apparently, in the land without magic, magic was scorned, hated, and vilified. And anybody that had magic was, from what I can tell, immediately killed. So her mother warned her not to interact with humans because they were dangerous, which is why the land without magic didn't have any magic. The nymph's garden was kind of like a realm within a realm. They were there, but they were still separate. Magic only existed within their garden, not in the actual land without magic. But Gothel was curious about humans. She found them interesting, and she wanted to explore their world and learn more about them. And she wanted to, wear their clothing and be like them and make more friends. She didn't want to just be. She knew she was the oldest of her sisters. So eventually, when her mother passed on, she would become the queen of the nymphs. She didn't want this responsibility. She wanted to be out in the world and see the world and all these things. But her mother warned her that if she wasn't careful, that they could betray her because, according to her mother, they were well known to humans were well known to revile people that had magic. So she didn't listen. She went out anyway. She explored a nearby castle because she saw some girls in the window trying on dresses for a ball. She really liked the fabric of the dresses. She wanted to see more. She went in there. They caught her making a flower because one of the dresses had a flower with a little tiny bud, and she used her magic to let it bloom. And the girls saw her. So they caught her, and she was afraid at first that they were going to harm her, but they didn't. And they said they were fascinated by her and they wanted her to teach them magic. And of course, she's, as innocent as she is. Oh, of course I'll teach you. Sure. She thinks she has these brand new friends, sisters, and she can prove to her mother that humans aren't everything that she thinks. how wrong she was. So as the flashback goes on, they invite her to the ball. They said they're going to give her a new dress and they're going to invite her to the ball. And when they do, the ringleader of the girls, the blonde chick, throws mud on her and berates her for having magic and vilifies her as an abomination in front of the whole place. So when she runs off sobbing with a broken heart, she goes back to her garden only to find it destroyed. Apparently, somehow the humans managed to find a way in and cut down all the trees and destroy any magic that was there, including killing all of the nymphs. Her mother was taking her last breaths, and she told her, "You should not have gone. I told you that this would happen." So her mother dies, her entire home is destroyed, and this is Gothel's motivation. Not only does she want to kill those that destroyed her family, she wants to destroy humanity entirely. She believes that humanity is not worth. Humans should not even exist on this planet because of what they did to her. And most of the response to this episode last night was, seriously? Seriously? Because we could name a list of people on this show that have been through far worse that didn't make that kind of choice. That still managed to deal with their adversity with grace and come out the other side. Even though they had struggles, they still managed to deal with it and come out on top by being strong and having courage. Mainly, Emma Swan, who got dealt the worst hand imaginable.
I will argue this point until my last breath. Killian Jones has the worst backstory out of everyone. Of course,
yes.
So
Emma wasn't a slave. I almost forgot about that. Yes, Killian Jones, and yes, I know that later on he kind of fell a little bit, but he didn't destroy the world. He literally was single-minded in going after just the ones that harmed him, and that was it. But anyway, he still managed to find his good heart, and he turned himself around and became the person that he was always meant to be, a good person with a good heart. This woman, I don't know what to say. I understand her wanting to kill the people that murdered her family, namely the woman and the people that got into the garden. I understand that. But saying that humanity does not have a right to exist and that they all need to be annihilated? Seriously? Girl,
well,
really?
From her point of view, her kind was there first.
That doesn't justify performing genocide to a whole race.
I know, but she's not human herself, so how could she possibly feel any empathy for another race?
Because her other sisters did. Her mother did. Her mother told her, don't, it's your turn. You got to make, the right choices. It's your turn to be the mother and, flourish and don't give in to the, the dark impulses. Her mother was expecting her to do the right thing and make the right choice and not wipe out people. Not use their magic for genocide. Use it for good, to create life, not destroy life.
And yet...
Mm-hmm.
Well, one could argue that humanity hasn't done much for nature when they cut down trees and all that. I mean, I'm not justifying it, but I understand where she would be coming from.
No.
Seeing what became.
What they did to her and then what others did to her family was terrible, but it's not. There is no justification for wiping out an entire planet of a species. There's no justification for it. So even no matter what her reasoning is, it could be the most sensible reasoning ever. It's not a justification for it. And I'm
not saying there's a justification. She's twisted. From her point of view, where there's no rationality or empathy, of course she's going to think, Like, look at what these humans have done to nature, like cutting down trees, building cities for themselves, overpopulating. Maybe that's just the way she sees things. I don't know. Think Poison Ivy from Batman.
So now we know what Gothel's ultimate plan is. The reason that she has awoken her sisters is she needs their power to cast, and Alice, to cast this massive spell in order to totally annihilate human life on this planet as we know it, or at least in this realm anyway. So,
And apparently, Hyperion Heights is where her old home used to be.
is it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's what was implied by the like, it was like you showed her saying it was, she was leaving the place and it was going to be, that was the land without magic, and when it zoomed out or whatever, when the screen changed, it was Seattle, and the place where she was standing when they had the ritual with Alice.
So that was her
that
garden?
That was her garden, because she found the key for the door.
Yes.
That was her garden.
So in Hyperion Heights, Gothel is putting her plan into motion. She goes to the police station and hypnotizes, because apparently now she has some sort of hypnosis ability, the poor desk sergeant, to force him to enact her plan. I don't know how the hell he managed to wake her sisters. They never explained that, but whatevs. So she brings the witches down to that place where the sigil is on the ground, supposedly where her garden once stood. Oh yeah, I forgot. That makes sense. It would be underground.
Yeah.
I almost forgot that Seattle was actually built one layer of, above the ground. Anyway, and she manipulates Alice and Rogers into following her by having the desk sergeant call Rogers with a tip saying that he saw a bunch of mysterious women, witches, walking into Hyperion Theater. So Rogers and Alice went over to Henry's place to see if Henry could help them out, because he had helped them out before. And what do we see at Henry's place?
The murder board.
Because now that Henry has gotten his hands on the proof that he is Lucy's father, he's really diving into this whole idea that the book might be true. And he's written all the details out in the book about who everybody is in comparison to the book, like Regina being the queen and Jacinda being Cinderella. We saw one of the pictures in the book was Emma. So he has this whole thing written out, and he's trying to get down to the truth. He also finds a piece of glass that comes from Cinderella's slipper. So he's hoping that he can get her to believe him, and Jacinda wants to believe him, but she's being just as bullheaded as he is. She actually thinks that the paternity test is fake. And I'm like, girl, that's not the easiest thing to fake. So he has to find some way to prove it to her. And when Lucy is going through some old boxes under her bed of stuff that Jacinda had before Lucy was born, they find the glass slipper. So there's no way that she can deny it now. Facilier told Lucy that since there was no magic left, that because Rumpelstiltskin stole the magic that Facilier gave to Regina to help Henry, that he could help her out and save her father, but he needed something that came over from the enchanted forest during the curse, and that something is the slipper. So she brings it to him. He does some magic hoodoo voodoo on it, and it turns into little glass pieces, and he floats it on over to Henry, and it goes into Henry's chest. So I think that means that Henry's poisoning is gone. So that's good. That's one major hurdle out of the way. Now Henry and Jacinda actually do kiss in this. And you want it to be, you know, all rainbows and amazing. And no. One, for the fact that it didn't break the curse, but then I don't think it was meant to, because this curse was designed without a true love kiss breaking thing in it. And two, once again, I don't think nobody was feeling it.
No,
Were you guys feeling it?
I haven't felt it at all this season, so I don't know why I would start now. I will say, and I've said this from the beginning, I totally buy it on Henry's end. Totally believable. Andrew is fantastic. It's wonderful to see him play. He plays the hope and the love so well, and it's the other side that I just no connection, nothing there. So
Andrew is fantastic. He is in it. Go ahead, Ro.
I will say the dialogue was somewhat of an improvement on Jacinda's end.
I think this episode it was a little bit more believable. There was a couple moments I was like, she's getting into this now. She's finally starting to feel it, but it still wasn't there.
She phoned it in just a little bit less.
Yeah,
than she normally does.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that really wanted it to work. Like, I was really hoping that when they kiss, this shit would be over with, because I am done with this fucking curse. Like, I am done with this curse.
It's just like season 1. In season 1, the curse didn't break until the very end of the season. It literally broke. They remembered, and then that was it. The season was over. So we know we're at least going to get something a little bit different here for the last few episodes. The curse is probably going to break next episode, and they've already said that the finale episodes are. Like, it takes a complete turn from where everyone thinks it's going. It's got so I'm thinking this whole curse business and everything wraps up next episode. And at the end of next episode, we take that turn into wherever the finale is going. Because the finale seems to be going someplace that's not necessarily tied to what's been going on all season. It might have a key player that kicks it off in that direction, but it's got nothing to do with Hyperion Heights, I think.
I'll admit, all Henry and Jacinda shit aside, I really did want it to work. I really did want the curse to break. I mean, I wanted them to be happy. I wanted Lucy to be happy, and it was very disappointing when she walked in and saw them kissing, and no beautiful Technicolor rainbows and wind and whooshing, like nothing there. I felt bad for her. I really did, but. They have to make it dramatic. I guess. Yep. So I'm just worried because from looking at the promo next week, it looks like Henry is so disappointed that nothing worked that he's just given up entirely.
We don't necessarily know what he obviously does, because I remember, and they already put out the press release for next week's episode, and it says that Rogers, Weaver, and Margot are off looking to find Tilly. You would think Henry would be a part of that if he was still in the hopeful category, and I don't think he is. But we don't know what magic Gothel is using now to manipulate the situation.
Speaking of that.
Because she says in the promo, she walks up to Regina and she said, Henry's belief is gone, you're too late. So, I don't know.
Speaking of that, in order to enact her plan, Gothel needs very specific ingredients, specifically drops of blood. She takes 1 drop of blood from Margot when she happens to notice Tilly and Margot in the cutest scene ever between 2 girls, cutest scene ever. Them walking out of I think they're walking out of Ronnie's or something.
Yeah,
anyway,
they're at Ronnie's.
Alice was walking out, so she noticed that that is new love because they're together. So she pretended to be someone she wasn't. She did the hypno thing on Margot and took a drop of her blood. When she manipulated Rogers and Tilly to going down to the theater, as they walked in, the witches were there, and they grabbed her and they grabbed him, made them go down to the basement where the sigil was on the floor, and she proceeded to unburden herself to God and creation. Why are you doing this to us? Blah, 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 blah. And oh my God, could the reveal of the father-daughter thing have gone any worse? I wanted it to be special.
I don't think it was worse. It was always going to play out that way. They were never going to have. I don't think they were ever going to have that moment where they got to wake up first and realize who they were. it was always going to be Gothel's manipulation. This whole thing started with Gothel's manipulation, so of course she was going to be the one that was going to. They've been her pawns. Unfortunately, they've been her pawns for a very long time, since even before Alice was born, even leading up to her conception. You know, Killian was her pawn. So it makes sense that she was the one that revealed it. I think what made it so special was the fact that they knew it. They didn't need her to say it. Her confirmation just made it real, but they didn't need her to say it for it to, like, as soon as she said it, it made sense, but they already knew.
So she ties Rogers up to the chair. She reveals that Rogers is in fact her father. And she tells Tilly, you know that this is true. You might not remember it, but you can feel it. You've always felt it. And the look that they shared when they realized the truth in this, even though they didn't remember it, just heartbreaking. So she gives her an ultimatum. She says, I can either take one drop of blood and I can cast this spell and be done with it, or I can cut his throat and he'll die. It's up to you. Mm-hmm. And Alice, being the sweetheart that Alice is, and
being her father's
daughter and not wanting to lose her daddy, she puts the robe on and says that she'll help her to enact the spell, because the one spot of the circle left open was meant for her. I suppose it's her birthright, because she's half woodland nymph. Which makes sense how she was able to do the troll thing now. That makes complete sense now. Anyway, she takes a drop of blood from Hook, which is old love, a drop of blood from Margot, which is new love, and the key to the garden, which is the key to her betrayal. And altogether, those are the elements that she needs to cast this spell. And that's where the episode ends, the spell being cast. I'm not going to forget the cutest scene ever in Roger's car. The little mushrooms on the
whole every single Night Rook in that episode, every single Night Rook scene in that episode was on point. Every single one, from her showing up at the precinct, you know, them in Henry's apartment, them in the car, them being taken by the coven. It was all perfect. Colin and Rose have such a good chemistry that it was
really heartwarming to see that, even though Rogers might not entirely believe this whole magic spiel, that he believes in her. Mm-hmm. He believes in Tilly, and he's not going to let her down.
I love that moment.
He has faith in her.
I love that moment in that it was such a Killian Jones thing. Like, Killian Jones, the character in general, not Rogers or original Hook. This is who he is as a person, and proves that it's the same guy, just leading two separate lives. Is that he said I've learned not to doubt you. He said the exact same thing to Emma in season 5. He said to her when they were like, when it comes to maybes and hopefullys, I've learned to never doubt yours. And that's why I was just like, this moment, that was like, this is Killian Jones. This is going to be who he is. No matter which version you're looking at, it's still the same dude. And that moment proved it. He's going to trust the people that he loves. And he loves Tilly the same way that OG Hook loves Emma. So obviously it's a different type of love, but it's still true love. So the fact that he came out and said that, I was like, there's Killian Jones, the one that I've been rooting for since I first started watching the show. It was great to see that little moment.
And even worse, when he was strapped to that chair and he knew that it came down to him or that spell, that he would rather Tilly let Gothel kill him than Tilly give herself over to that. He was ready and willing to die to save her, to spare her from having to give in to that.
Yep.
But she loved her father so much. Even though she didn't remember that he was her father, she loved him so much that she would rather give into that darkness and do whatever Gothel wanted. I'm just glad that she wasn't suckered in by Gothel trying to appeal to the lost little girl who didn't have a mother bullshit. He's saying, I'm your mother. I can give you a better life. You can be happy with me. Shut up. You were never a mother. ever. Like, you left her to die. You don't care.
And Alice flat out said that you're not my mother. And the great thing is, in the car before they even went in, Rogers was saying it doesn't matter about your blood. Blood doesn't make your family and all that stuff. And I was just sitting there going, there was so much foreshadowing, and the foreshadowing so heavy that I was so sure he was going to wake up last night, and he didn't. Obviously, it's coming next week, but they were laying on that foreshadowing hard. About
that drove me nuts. The whole time when they were down there, I was like, bitch, if you're gonna kill him anyway, why don't you just wake him up? He's gonna die anyway. You might as well just do it. Like, what does it really cost you? Nothing. Zero. Unless she doesn't know how to do it, because she didn't actually wake anybody else up. That was Facilier's doing.
She's never she hasn't woken anybody up.
But she has the capability, I think.
Does she, though? I don't know. Well, she might now, because she has the magic now, but
wasn't it her magic that she gave to Drizella, which she used to wake up Regina?
Yeah. She had her go find a flower, and they did the spell together. They made the potion together,
which allowed Regina to wake up.
It wasn't necessarily her magic that did it, but she used her knowledge of her magic to do it, basically, essentially, because she doesn't have much magic. What I find interesting is that Facilier knows what's coming. Because he says if they're going to do what I think they're going to do, everyone's going to need magic.
What I find interesting is he's actually able to do magic in the land without magic.
He can do some magic, I think that's got more to do with his voodoo than it does necessarily with magic in general. Like I said, voodoo is still... What's interesting is she said, she made this the land without magic, but in this land without magic, there's still traces of magic in it. So...
And he actually cured Henry.
He cured Henry. He used voodoo magic to cure Henry. So he's obviously, like I said, he's operating on a different magic level than Gothel is. Gothel's magic is obviously Mother Nature. It's nature-based. His isn't.
It's either self-preservation or he really wants to get laid.
I don't know his motivation. That's the thing. This is the one character that's still there that I don't know who. Obviously, we finally found out Gothel's motivation, and now the mystery character there is Facilier. So it's like, what are you doing, dude?
He's very much like Rumple he does a lot of shady shit, but at the same time, he's capable of doing some not so shady shit when it has to do with someone that he cares for. Like Rumple did a whole lot of shady shit and fucked up a lot of people's lives, but he was always doing nice things for Belle, or what he believed was nice things for Belle, because he loved Belle, and that was about as much as he was capable of. Facilier is kind of the same way. Yeah. He's going for that dagger, and if he gets that dagger, well, I mean,
the thing about Facilier is he hasn't lied about it yet. He's been straightforward. He came out and said, "I want that dagger." That's what I know,
but there's only one thing you can do. Well, there's only two things you can do when you get that dagger. One, kill the Dark One and take the power for yourself. Or two, control the Dark One with it. So, none of those options are good.
We know of those are the only two things you can do with the dagger. That's what we know of. We don't know. I'm not necessarily defending him. I'm just saying hasn't done anything necessarily yet that really points him in the direction of pure evil or pure good. Like he's walking the line in between. He's between worlds, which is kind of the type of character he is to begin with, because he's between our realm and the Shadow Realm to begin with. So it's kind of they're playing that whole sort of thing. He's kind of shady. He's shifty like a shadow. You don't know whether or not it's for good or for ill. And I get the feeling that whatever the big twist is for the finale, I feel like he's the one involved in it.
And so far, he hasn't given Regina any reason to doubt him.
Exactly. He's given her no because he hasn't lied to her yet. She's tried to lie to him. She tried to play it off like she didn't know who he was and all that stuff, but she did, and she's tried to steal things from him and do all this stuff with him. But he's been straightforward with her. So I don't know. He's just one of those characters that you can't put your finger on. I think that's obviously that's supposed to be the point. You're not supposed to figure out his intentions, but I really cannot. Like, some of the storylines have been obvious to me, and his storyline, I just can't. I can't figure it out.
Well, if theoretically, if the curse is broken and everyone has magic again, then the dagger can be used to control Weaver.
The dagger can still be used to control Weaver. I think. I don't think he needs the magic necessarily for it to.
That's intrinsic. The dagger is going to control him no matter what realm.
No matter what realm he's in. It's still going to control him.
Actually, August tried it in season 1 and it didn't work.
Did he have the dagger in season 1? I haven't seen season 1 all the way through.
He had the dagger, but he was burying it in Storybrooke because he thought if he buried it, that Rumple would never be able to find it. But he's forgetting that the dagger itself gives off a high level of magic. Rumple can sense it no matter where it is.
No, they were... Okay, he pretended to be Balefire, and they dug it up together, and then he took it and tried to control him, but it didn't work. And Rumple said, "This doesn't work because there's no magic in this world."
Right, because he hadn't brought it back yet. But at the end of season 1, when he brought magic back, that changed things.
And that was before that's when he was still just one dark one. Now the dagger has the magic of all the darkness. It's a whole different level of what it was before. It's not what it was in season 1. And also, the dagger is obviously doing something in Hyperion Heights because Alice was able to go and find it and hide it from Rumple and from Facilier because she could hear it.
But honestly, even if Facilier has his hands on it, he wouldn't be able to really use it to its effectiveness unless he either took Rumple back to Storybrooke or he went to a different realm, because in Hyperion Heights it's not going to work.
I still think it will control him, but they won't be able to use the magic in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like he could probably tell it'd be kind of like taking his heart, essentially. If he took Rumple's heart and told him what to do, I think that magic would still work in The Land Without Magic.
So the promo for next week, which is, what's it called? Who is Henry Mills?
Yeah, something like that.
Because I guess the kiss did not work with Jacinda, Henry is lost all hope, and Gothel assures Ronnie that he will never get his belief back ever. And Ronnie is trying to convince him, and it looked to me like Henry was not going to be convinced until somehow he gets a call from calls his younger self. As apparently, I think he's going to graduate from high school.
Yeah, he's about to graduate, obviously.
Yep, I knew it.
I don't know how that's going to work, but okay, I'm there for that.
It was really great to see Jared in the promo. It's like,
this is the episode where Jared Gilmore is returning in some flashbacks. 1 for graduation, and 2, Regina is supposed to be taking Henry to tour some colleges. So we saw some of that filming earlier this spring, so we'll be seeing that.
I wonder if this is the catalyst that kicks off Henry deciding he wants to go find his own story.
I think so. Because
think about it, it's kind of like that. Stargate's a good example. The episode 1969, where Samantha had the cut on her hand, which is when she realizes. Oh, that's when General Hammond realizes that she needs to go back in time because he saw that on her hand when he was back in 1969. I think it's that sort of thing. This is the thing that sets the story in motion.
Because I think that I think Lana or Jared did an interview for this episode talking about the idea that even though Henry is going to these different colleges with Regina, that he's struggling because he's torn about whether or not he wants to go to college or if he wants to leave the realm entirely, because there's some part of him that he knows college is important, but there's a bigger part of him that wants to find his own story, that wants to go a different road. And I think those flashbacks will be explaining how he came to that decision to not go to college and to go to a different realm and make his own story. I know they said they were using this episode to fill in some of those gaps, to explain why he did what he did and what led up to it all. So I have this niggling suspicion that there is going to be some negative Nellies with this episode. Just because of the flashbacks.
Yeah, but
and you know why, too.
I just...
You know why. Come on. Because a certain someone is not there doing a certain someone's motherly job that she's supposed to do.
Yeah, I know why. And I'm going to say the same thing I've been saying all freaking season. The reason why is Jennifer Morrison. That's your reason. Don't take it out on the show. Don't take it out on the showrunners. I'm just going to put that out there again right now. It's on Jennifer Morrison. I know, but I'm just saying to the universe again. The reason why none of that is going to be there is because of Jennifer Morrison. It's not. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that it's on her that it's not there. That was her decision. I respect it, and she's not there. And she flat out said that I wanted to leave. Nobody expected me to say I was done, but I did. So there you go. That's your reason. Don't get mad at the show. I'm tired of seeing people angry at the show for her decision.
I'm not angry. I'm just.
I'm not
kill
saying,
the messenger. I'm not angry.
I'm not angry at you. I'm saying it's frustrated in general because I know it's coming. I'm getting it out now before I have to sit and watch it.
Did she not? I've been trying to find this interview she did with Sundogs about Sundogs, because a lot of people on Tumblr were talking about the interview that she gave where she discusses why she made the decision to leave Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, I've seen
something about her being really exhausted, and
yeah, she said that she was emotionally done, that she loved playing the character and she loves the stories, but she could not be up there in Vancouver for 9 months out of the year without her family for another year. She just couldn't do it anymore. It had nothing to do with the storytelling or where the character had gone or if she hated she just being away from her family for that long for another year was going to be too much for her. So she decided to walk away. And she said in the same interview, she said, it was my decision. And I don't think anybody thought that I was going to say no. Everybody expected me to say yes to another season.
Exactly.
And she didn't. So she admitted right there that it was her decision, that nobody expected her to walk away. And
I really do hope that the people, those who have been very negative about season 7 will take that commentary to heart.
I hope so too. I don't think it'll necessarily happen for some people, which is how it goes, but
because they've been going on and on since the beginning, how they were blaming Adam and Eddie for running her off, or saying some shit about how she didn't like what was going on in the show, and she was. But this is mostly coming from fans who themselves don't like the direction that the show has gone in, or themselves don't like the way that the writing is, and that does not reflect what the actors or the writers or the creators think. They're just they're kind of putting their own feelings onto Jennifer Morrison, and that's not the way that Jennifer Morrison feels. Jennifer Morrison generally loves the show, and I'm sure that if she felt differently about how difficult it was for her to be away from her family, she might have stayed, and she might have asked for a little more money, but if it wasn't so hard for her, she probably would have stayed. But I mean, she was on the show for 6 years, and that's a lot of time to be away from your family.
Like, it got to the point where the last couple of seasons she was there, she was flying out of Vancouver on the weekends just to go visit with her family and be home. Like, she bought a house in California, and she was only ever in it for 2 days out of the week. Yeah, so it makes sense that she couldn't do it anymore. And that's, like I said, there's no judgment towards her whatsoever. I totally understand. And I'm not, I'm just saying it's on her shoulders that this season ended up the way it does. And that's not a bad thing. She made a decision that was right for her, and I respect that. But it's still on her that our current season is the way it is.
Because I'm sure that if she had stayed, the storyline would have turned out much differently. But you know what? She's a human being, and she has every right to do what is best for her. So
exactly.
I'm hoping that whoever listened to what she said really listens to what she said. Take it to heart and try to put an end to the divisiveness, to the negativeness, because we only have 3 episodes left, people. 3. 3. And I would really hope that after all these years and with how big this fandom has become, knowing that we're in the final stretch, that you'll try to like come together in the bitter end, come together, watch the finale to say goodbye to these characters that we've loved for so many years, and put the hate and the bitterness and the negativity aside just for once. Because once the show ends, that's it. I mean, once 22 ends, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing left to bitch about. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
I would hate to see that once the show is over, that all these fans with these negative feelings suddenly start to realize, oh my God, what did we do?
It's gonna happen. It's inevitable that it's gonna happen. It happened in between last season and this season, because last season a lot of people were complaining about Captain Swan in the season, which I personally don't understand why. I didn't agree with it. They have their opinions. I just don't agree with the assessment of people gave to Captain Swan in season 6. I thought what Captain Swan had in season 6 was fantastic. And people were, complaining. And this was before we found out about season 7 that JMO was going to be gone and that Colin wasn't going to be gone. And I was like, y'all, we don't know what the future of the show is. You need to stop complaining, because you might not get this anymore. This might be your last opportunity to enjoy this. So I would enjoy it while you have the chance. And if you can't enjoy it, stop watching and just take what you want from what you've seen already. And then, or just, watch the Captain Swan scene separately later on. But don't sit here and complain, because if you're going to keep complaining to the point where it's going to be over and all you would have done is complained. And that's exactly what happened, because we found out right after the wedding episode that she was leaving. And then a week later, we find out that it's being picked up for another season and Colin's staying, and, Captain Swan is essentially done as a story. And people were like, and now all the same people that were complaining about Captain Swan in season 6 are now saying that they...
Sorry for being late.
Hi. But they're saying how much they miss Captain Swan, and they just want Captain Swan back. I was like, I told y'all that was going to happen.
I miss him too.
You need to not look a gift horse in the mouth. What you were getting was really, really great, but you didn't think it was good enough, so you complained, and now it's gone, and now you want it back.
Yeah.
Bro.
At this point, I just count my blessings, because it could have been a whole lot worse.
Yep.
I mean, how many of us were dreading during that hiatus the thought of Captain Swan being separated?
Me.
The writers found a way to keep them together, to preserve that happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
And my condition on actually watching the season was whether or not they actually found a way to keep them together. Like, I don't know if it would be time travel or something. And, Wish Hook wouldn't have been my first choice, but, I got used to him. I've accepted the fact that this is just an alternate version with a different story. And, I think it's important to support Colin during his final run on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And we get Captain Swan one last time at the end.
Yep.
So, it could have been a whole lot worse. I mean, this is not nearly as bad as it could have been. So I just count my blessings.
That's the thing. People need to, and maybe in hindsight, with a bit of time, they'll be able to look back and go, you know what? That was a good experience, and I wish I had handled it better. Because
I was like 75 to 80% certain that they were not going to split Captain Swan up solely for the fact that the two of them had just gotten married.
Yeah.
After
Exactly.
6 seasons of crazy ass bullshit, they had been through so much fucked up shit that for Adam and Eddie to thrust them apart when they had finally gotten their happy ending after all of this craziness would have been too much to ask fans to believe. They would have been like, really? Are you serious? I mean, really? So I knew, when Comic-Con happened and when Colin said it's okay, Captain Swan is fine, I know that he is the type of person who would not lie. I know that a lot of people don't like to believe what Adam and Eddie said because they've been burned in the past. I get it. But Colin is not the type of person to lie. I know this because I've met the man in person. He's the real deal. He's the real deal. Honest to a fault. If he says everything is going to be okay, I believe it.
Yeah.
And we were right. Captain Swan is happy, doing their happy joy dance in Storybrooke with little baby. So everything is fine.
And he said again for the series finale that it's a great little Captain Swan moment that we're going to be getting in the series finale. Colin said that in an interview recently.
So I really am hoping that all the people that cast all these negative aspersions on season 7 will in the end come back and just bask in that little bit of Captain Swan we have left and enjoy it for what it is and try to give the show the goodbye that it deserves.
I feel like some people will. I feel like some people are going to be able to look beyond their feelings on it and go, this is the last episode. I just want to enjoy this last moment. But, and I hate to be so cynical about it, there's going to be the people out there that are going to go, that are going to bitch and complain the entire episode, especially because they haven't watched any of the seasons. So they're not going to know more than half the shit that's going on. They're just going to be there for the return of, Captain Swan and Charming and Snow. They're just going to be there for that. And they're not going to know what's going on. And they're going to complain the entire episode. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. I'm not saying they're wrong, but it's just, we're going to have to sit through that. You just know it.
I would hope that
I don't have to sit through anything because fandom drama just doesn't appeal to me. I ignore it.
Same here. I'm like, I want to enjoy this. This is the last time I'm going to see my beloved Captain Swan, my beloved characters, and I don't want everybody to just...
I'm not saying it's gonna affect my viewing of the episode. It's obviously not. I'm gonna do the same thing I do every week. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna have my feelings on it, and I'm gonna express those feelings. And it's gonna be whatever it is. But at the same time, it's not gonna be all people just being nostalgic and being respectful of the fact that it's gone. There are gonna be the people out there that are gonna be a little bit petty about it.
It's their loss.
It is their loss. I agree.
Exactly.
I agree.
I really like this episode very much. And also I want to say that what I like about this episode, I like the story of Gothel. And yes, I know they pulled a Carrie in the story with the ball and the mud bath, the humiliation, high school kind of thing with the ball, and she killing them with plants like poison ivy, Batman style. And I kind of sympathize with Gothel because she felt like humans didn't like her because she was a nymph, and then she became Mother Nature after the humans killed her parents and her home, her sister, and I know, and also I like the whole blackmail that Lucy gave to Facilier, so he will help her cure Henry's poison heart, so Henry won't die when Ella, who's cursed as Jacinda, and Henry, who's cursed, when they kiss, Henry doesn't, die. And I really like the whole. I swear to God, when Gothel and Tilly and Rogers were in the same place, I thought, because I was calling this all week, that Alice and Wishhook were gonna wake up in this episode. I really thought it was because I called it.
I think we were all sitting there thinking they were gonna wake up, and again they pushed it. They keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing. They keep pushing it because they know how much we want it at this point.
I'm so done with this curse.
I think we're all so done with this curse, and I think that's why next week it's going to be, they're like, okay, we've kind of pushed it to this limit. If we go any longer, the fandom might riot.
And also, the end of the promo of the next episode confused me. Like, Henry was answering the phone, and then in the other, when he was answering the phone, it turns out that the one who's calling him is Henry from Young Henry, who's in his high school robe, graduation robe. And I was like, did I miss something?
I'm gonna say the same thing I said before we started the podcast. You're watching Once Upon a Time. We are 7 seasons into Once Upon a Time. We've had episodes where Snow met her teenage daughter. Okay, so, and we've had episodes where Captain Swan goes back to the past and changed the entire way the past had happened to end up with the same result, but they changed things in the past. You shouldn't be sitting here being confused or questioning why what you're seeing in a promo. Well, when you watch the episode and it gets to the end and things don't make sense, yes, I can understand where you go, well, that doesn't necessarily make sense, but at the end of the day, this is Once Upon a Time. It's going to get to a point where it's not going to make sense. It's never going to make sense. Just, you'll live a happier, less confusing life if you just sit there and go, you know what? This happened. There we go.
And if Vasily hurts Regina, I hope Regina kicks him in the ball sack. Vasily kicks Vasily in the ball sack for hurting her because he deserves it.
I don't think he does. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it now. I'm Team Facilier. This might be the thing I'm really wrong about this season, but I'm Team Facilier. I'm gonna just put it out there.
I know. I'm just saying, just in case he hurts her.
I'm just saying, give credit where it's due. He cured Henry.
Well, he did.
He cured Henry, and before that, he had given Regina the magic to cure Henry to begin with. So,
and just in case he just double crosses Regina and the others for the dagger, for his own evil agenda, I hope he gets what he deserves. But if not, I hope he's team hero and he's not a backstabber I see more. When I see Vasily in this season, I see him like the Rumble of this series in some parts, and I just hope that he doesn't do the Rumble thing where I work with you, but then I backstab you for my own reasons, and I don't care how much I doom you in the way because the only thing I care is me, my happy ending, me, my own game, me, power. But I'm gonna have hope for. The facility
I just don't like how he keeps people under his thumb. Like he's got Naveen under his thumb. He had Tiana under his thumb.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like how he does that shit.
I agree. It's that's the shady side of him, but at the same time, he keeps doing. It's not a once off with him, and doing necessarily doing the good things. So,
yes, but his reasons for doing the good things are solely self-serving because he wants Regina's affections. Yeah, that is the only reason he's done any of this shit. If it didn't have to do with Henry, and if Henry wasn't Regina's son, he wouldn't give a fuck.
Okay, wait a minute, hold on. Okay, wait a minute. His reasons are self-serving, and he only wants Regina's affections. What did Emma do in season 5? All of season 5. What was her reasoning for doing what she was doing?
Ouch.
Killian Jones. So why was it okay for Emma to do it for Killian, but it's not okay for Facilier to do it for Regina?
Because Emma is a good person at heart, and she's the savior and does naturally good things. This guy is not.
We don't know that. We don't know his motivations.
That's why.
Other than giving the magic to Regina and giving her that necklace back in the past, and helping Lucy to save her father. Those 3 things, which are all connected to Regina. Everything else he's done for his own ends. No, I don't like him. I don't trust him.
Okay.
Period.
Okay.
Well, I don't care how much moderately nice shit that Rumble might have done for Val. In the end, he's a fucking prick.
Exactly.
Period.
No offense, Pip, but I respect that you ship them. You like Facilier.
I don't ship anybody. I just like Facilier.
I know. No, I mean you like him as a character. I get that, but just for some of us, especially Lisa and myself, kind of don't trust him because
I'm not saying you're wrong for not trusting him. I'm just gonna. It doesn't have to make sense, but I just like him. I got a feeling about him.
I like the way that the actor plays him. The dude wears it well. I mean, spot on, spot on. As an evil villain type character, oh yeah, spot on.
Yeah.
What about Emma Booth?
Oh, she's fucking killer.
I know.
She plays Psycho great. What pisses me off is that I still see people on Instagram and on Twitter calling her, a rape apologist. And,
oh God!
And all these horrible things.
Here we go.
I stay out of that one now. People
especially after last night. She had posted because she took over once ABC officials Instagram, and she was posting some things as the episode was on, and she said, don't forget to watch tonight's episode because we're gonna get Gothel's back story, and please be kind with your post, because I think even she knew she was probably gonna get some nasty shit. Because she always gets nasty shit. They're acting like Emma Booth herself has no problem with rape or blah blah blah, and that's not true. That is not true. She's getting shit because of a character that she's playing, and I fucking can't stand it. I really can't stand it.
Okay, it's a character. One thing is the character, and another thing is the actor or actress who plays it.
To be fair, people can just not like an actress. I mean, and they're gonna have. It's not necessarily. It doesn't excuse treating her like crap. I don't excuse that whatsoever. But people just might not like her.
They get this. They're calling her out, saying that she's trying too hard to impress the fandom, or she's trying to act like she's entitled to
they have the reasons. Like, it doesn't have to make sense. They're gonna try and justify it whatever ways they want to, and that's their business. They've done the same thing with Rose too.
One thing I will say, it's good that because this was Gothel's returning episode, that they focused mainly on the characters that she's involved with. There wasn't any Rumpel or Regina. They haven't been that involved with her story, but Rogers and Tilly have, so we got a lot of them.
The funny thing is, I remember when this season was starting, some people were speculating that Rogers, that Colin, Lana, and Bobby were going to be kind of sort of background sort of characters, and I think in the case of Regina, she kind of has been sort of more of a background character than a main player. Same thing on the same level with Bobby, more of a background sort of character, more of a support character than he was. The one actor that wasn't has been Colin. Colin has been the key player to this entire season.
Wow.
I think even more so than Henry.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't engage. That's why I ignore the drama fandom. That what ticks me that in Twitter, I just ignore. But on Twitter, everybody's calling Alice the rape baby this, rape baby that, and I'm like, I just ignore, because this drama is not gonna ruin what's left of Once Upon a Time for me.
They have their narratives and they have their bias, and as much as they want to say they don't have their bias, it's obvious to see. I have my own biased feelings about something, so it's obvious to see if they weren't going to like it anyway, so now they're trying to find legitimate reasons to discredit the season or discredit the characters, and
they're using the rape baby thing as an excuse to hate Rose because she is not Emma. Because Alice is not Emma. And they're going off about how they feel like she's replacing Emma in Hook's heart. I'm like, different Hook. Different relationship. It's not the same.
Like I said, they have the narrative in their head and they have their bias, and that's what's coming out in the hate. It's unfortunate because someone especially Rose Reynolds, does not deserve it.
Yeah,
she's not even the sweetest person in the world.
She is the kindest, most lovely, and she's interactive with the fans, which is
Awesome.
Speaking of interacting with fans, I don't know if you guys saw this on Tumblr, but because I don't have much to say about Chicago Con because Colin wasn't there. But
I don't think we should discuss that while the podcast is live.
Dude, I'm not gonna say what he said because I don't know entirely. I
don't think we should get into this. I think we should let this one drop until we're not live.
Exactly what he said, but damn, he sure as hell his garden was empty. Woo!
Let's not get into that right now.
That's all I'll say on that matter.
The only romantic scene besides Ella and Henry was in this episode. It's the Matt Archer scene when Gothel was spying on Alice. I mean Tilly. And that's the only romantic scene that I liked besides the whole Ella and Henry kissy, even though they were cursed. I love romance in an episode of Once Upon a Time when it happens. It's so bubbly and cute.
You know, the sick thing is that when Rogers was tied up in that chair and she was going off about how humans need to be annihilated, and she looks over at Rogers and she's like, no matter how pretty they might be or how enjoyable, I'm like, bitch, step off.
She heard that. She's like, no matter how pretty, and as she's touching his, and he pulls away, she said, no matter how pretty, and she touches him and he jerks away, she says, there's still poison. I was like, I'm gonna come through this TV and I'm gonna end you right now.
Like, bitch, don't touch the merchandise.
It especially made me angry that she called him poison, and she's the one who poisoned him to begin with. I'm like, I want to destroy you.
I wanted to get a revolver and shoot her in the face. And
I was just like, oh my god, did you? I was like, but that's the type of character, she's gonna go there. She's the one who poisoned his heart and then has the nerve to call him poison. Oh.
Yeah, I'm like, and don't touch him, bitch.
And she's the one who manipulated him in the first place to have sex with her to have this baby so she could leave the tower. So it's just like,
Pip, don't make me remember that, because at first I thought that she was just Rapunzel, and I was Rapunzel, and then I didn't know, and then she turned into be Gothel. Then there was like, fuck my life, why did they like this? But I really liked the episode because it had not only had Nightbrook, it had Matt Archer, and it had Henriella, and it had. Is it okay to have a friendship name between Lucy and Sandy, or is it too creepy?
Too creepy.
Oh, thank you.
It's a little creepy. It just in general, not because of the characters necessarily, but because of the type of. Yeah, no, it's not.
Okay, thanks.
Because of what you know he's capable of, the shit he's done in the past, and she's 10 years old. He's an old man. No,
I mean to be friends. Like allies.
Regina would never let Facilier near her. Ever. No.
Yeah. I'm just saying as friends, not like that. Don't get twisted, okay?
Facilier doesn't make friends with children. Facilier uses children to his own ends.
Like the blind witch.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So we know that Alice is the guardian.
Yep.
So, but Gothel was already looking for the guardian before she was born. They still haven't explained why she needed them in the first place, or tested like Rapunzel initially.
She was looking for the person that had the right kind of magic for her to cast this important spell.
That seems like the opposite of what the Guardian is about.
I mean, Anastasia had it, but she left to go be with her sister. So,
yeah,
she found Alice. That the fact that Alice is her daughter was just the icing on the cake.
I think
she didn't see. She even said it herself. She said, "I never should have let you go. I should have known that you would have the same power that I have." But she didn't even think twice about it. Because
there was something that her mother said to her, that Gothel's mother said to her when she was dying. She said, "You are the source of the goodness that you're seeking." And I think that was meant to imply that Alice, it was supposed to lead back to that she had given birth, or quote unquote birth, we'll say quote unquote birth, to the very thing she was looking for was right in front of her all along, which is exactly what Alice as Tilly has been saying all season. What you've been looking for is right in front of you. It's always been right in front of you.
I swear to God, in that scene, when she said that line, I
was like,
they're in the cop car, and she's like, what we've been looking for might be right in front of us, and I'm like, wake up already! I can't stand this. Please.
I'm just scared. I'm scared for my heroes, but I'm same time very intrigued. What the hell is this spell Gothel and the Covenant of the Eight are gonna do?
It's something that Facilier knows what it is. That we know. He knows what's coming, and he knows that it's something that they're all gonna need their magic for. So I don't know. It's something big.
I hope it's not. Hope it's not nothing. Hope it's not a sort of Ragnarok thingy. Also, real doomed. Sorry for the Thor reference, but it was just a example.
No spoilers.
No. Am I the only one who's seen it?
I think so.
Oh God, that just makes it worse.
Well, I didn't see Gothel with the Infinity Gauntlet, if anyone's worried.
Oh, that just makes it worse if I'm the only one who's seen it.
All right, so we have any final thoughts on Flower Child before we call it a day?
I think it was a good episode. I think they did a good job with Gothel's backstory, not because it was a sympathetic backstory, but because it shined a light on what she's doing and made it really obvious that the reason why she's doing this isn't a good one. So she's just evil. I think I enjoyed that. The Night Rook, obviously, they were laying it on thick that these two are, connected. And of course, they got found out that they are, father and daughter. And I'm excited to see the conclusion to that part of it next week. And I just think it was all around, even the parts with, like I said, there were parts with Jacinda where I was a little bit believing more than I have all season in what she was, acting. So, and of course, Andrew as Henry is one of the best decisions they made on the show. So I think it was a good episode all around.
Well, I liked it. The Night Rook stuff was cool. Gothel was a bitch. I wanna kill her. I like the whole little one scene of Matt Archer. I very interesting the backstory of Gothel. And I can't believe they pulled a Carrie. Didn't know Adam and Eddie were a fan of that movie, like myself. And I like the whole Henry and Ella scenes when even though they're cursed, but it was very cute and romantic. And this episode is very cool, and I give it a 10.1.
10.1.
Bro?
Well, I mean, I'm happy with any episode where Night Rook is at the center of it, and well, this has been coming for a while. And, well, I mean, if they're connected to the main villain, then obviously this was going to be coming. So, I mean, I'm happy the way things have developed, and I hope we get a decent enough conclusion, like, next episode. But, I mean, as a singular episode for a villain's backstory, I'd say it's definitely an improvement from whatever the hell Black Fairy was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, I mean, that was just disappointing. Also, finding out that Rumpel was the savior didn't help.
That part was
Such a
so
Hail Mary.
Yeah,
that
but
was the biggest Hail Mary ever.
Yeah, it still makes me laugh out of how not make sense it was. But no offense to the actress who plays the Black Fairy, but it kind of her backstory. This girl Gothel's backstory kind of makes sense than the Black Fairy's. No pun intended.
For a show that prides itself on not having Mary Sue type characters, that was totally a Mary Sue moment.
I don't.
And well, like I was saying, obviously Alice being the guardian, that's important to this main arc, and if she is ultimately the one to stop Gothel, it's poetic justice, really.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, for me, I would give this episode probably a 7 out of 10. I loved the Nightwork stuff, of course. Colin brought his A game as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Rose was great. Both of them were on point. Anytime they do Nightwork stuff, it's always, the moments are always special. They're always heartfelt, emotional, and every time they were on the screen, I mean, you felt the love coursing through them for a father to his child. I liked Emma Booth's performance as a villain. I think she pulls off a great villain. Her background story was bullshit. They could have done a lot better. Even the Black Fairy's backstory wasn't as bullshit as this was. And this was some bullshit. Like, I mean, I felt for her, you know, that she lost her family and her home. But it's not an excuse. It's like that. I mean, cool motive, still murder. Exactly. They could have done a lot better. But at this point, you know, with there only being 3 episodes left, beggars can't be choosers for what we're getting right now. They're just, as I suspected, they're really trying hard to tie up what the remaining storylines that they got before the show reaches its bitter end. But still, Emma Booth did a fantastic job.
Amen.
As a villain. She definitely pulls that shit off very well. Andrew J. West, as always, is a joy. And every time I see his picture, I always have to do a double take because he looks so much like Jared. It's frightening. They picked the best person ever to play him because he literally could be Jared grown up.
Yeah.
So Danya, I mean, what can we say? It's Danya. She does her best, and I think that's all that we can really ask. Facilier on point. Facilier was on point.
Allison.
Allison
for
Allison is precocious, as always. She's a sweet kid. She's not quite up to Henry levels yet, but then again, when this is the only season we're gonna see her, so she's not quite where Henry's at. She's like, see, when Henry was the truest believer, he didn't make it oppressive. She's like, she makes it oppressive. I don't know how to describe it, but she gets annoying with it at times. Henry wasn't like that.
No, really. To be fair, people found Henry annoying too. So
some, but I really like Allison. And she kind of plays. She's not like Henry when he was the truest believer, but she's like in her own way. I respect her.
But she's done it, you know, for walking into an already established show, and I think this was her first big job. She's done a good job. I mean, she's done very well, and I'm interested to see where she goes after this as she grows up. You know, everyone did a good job on the show. The only reason I'm giving it a 7 is because I really did not feel good about the backstory. I mean, I empathize with her anger and her sadness over losing her family, but I can't sympathize with what she did because it's way over the top. I mean, she's trying to annihilate all of humanity. That's bullshit. Aside from that, it was a really well done episode. I wish I could have seen a little bit more of the other sisters, because the only one we really saw was the black girl, the one that was her first friend, the first one that she brought in. The other ones we haven't really seen or heard from them very much. I've been interested to see who they are. But you know, we don't have a whole lot of time, so they can't really delve too much into each individual backstory. I would at least have liked to see their faces. That would have been great. But anyway, I think overall it was a well done episode. Anything with a lot of night work or just a lot of hook period is a great episode. Yeah. So next week, I think we're getting down to the wire here, folks. we're pretty 99% certain Curse is breaking next week because
Yeah.
the last 2 episodes primarily take place in Storybrooke and everybody knows who they are. So next week is pretty definite that it's going to happen. We already know that Henry's no longer poisoned, so that's not an issue anymore.
Thank Jesus.
So, same bat time, same bat channel, guys, next week. We might start a couple minutes earlier because I have to be somewhere. It's Star Wars. It's Revenge of the Fifth, and my husband wants to go to the saber battle, so I got to go drop him off. So in order not to run into time constraints, I might start maybe 15 minutes earlier than I normally do. So it's just so I can get done with this and get him down there, so he won't complain. Anyhow, same bat time, same bat channel next week, and then we'll be off for a week. And then we'll have our final podcast in which we'll discuss the finale 2 episodes and reminisce about all of our memories of Once Upon a Time.
Yeah.
So we will see you all next week, my friends.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Once is forever.